Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Sunday. Another week, another opportunity to become who we're supposed to be, to deepen ourselves. Special day today. Today is Mother's Day. For those that are celebrating, everyone should be celebrating, whether or not your country has officially put this on the calendar. But as they say, every day is Mother's Day. But this is the day that is specifically Mother's Day. So for all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. And for my mother in particular, happy Mother's Day, Mommy. I want to talk a little bit about, today's show is really going to be very much mother-esque, very much something that I think moms stand for, and the type of advice that moms give kids, especially younger kids. We have to start the process and the journey that we're taking together towards really drilling down on how to make the changes that we've been talking about. So for those that are joining us for the first time, thank you. For those that are coming back, thank you. Lots of ways you can watch the show and catch up on previous episodes. We'll get to in the back end of this show. And we've been talking a lot about this idea of the mind, getting your mind straight, the sanctuary of your mind. Now, what's really important is to recognize that the goal of one's mind is not only to clean it out and to empower it and to build it into a sanctuary that gives expression to your soul, and not the other way around, right? Your mind is the command center, and the command center will dictate whether or not your body will follow whatever comes at it, almost like a robot that has been conditioned to just sort of roll with whatever's coming at it, whether it's the food that you shouldn't be eating that you just keep on putting into your mouth, or the anger that you shouldn't be feeling even though you're trying to overcome it, or the mind will just be the servant of your soul, be in control of your day, be in control of what has to happen. And we've spent the past few weeks really delving into the mind and how the mind could work. And we've got plenty more to do. But what I want to start to do this week is sort of to go back down. A couple of episodes ago, we spoke about this idea of navigating the rocks. In order to really know where to go, you have to learn how to see big. You have to learn how to have big vision. You can't get stuck in your life. You have to visualize an outcome. You have to train yourself to give yourself the time. And it's hard in the beginning because it feels weird in the beginning. When you live in a very materialistic world, the only thing that feels real are things that you sense, that you can touch. But things that aren't as sensory, like thought, feels less real. But it's not true. There's nothing sensory about the conversation that a mother has with a child for so many of the child's years that really centers around very superficial things. But if you look deeper, it's how they create that bond. Something very real about a relationship, even though much of a relationship really is just thought and speech. It's not the gifts that one gives. The gifts that people give each other sometimes actually masks the deficiencies of the relationship. I can't really talk to you, so let me just buy you something. It's the words, it's the thought. And so when you start to get into this, it's going to feel weird, which is why some people that are listening are doing it and some people aren't. They're just listening to me. Thank you for doing that. But look, they're not actually taking the time to visualize a month from now, a year from now, what they want to look like, what they want to become, the strength they want to show in the face of the adversity that they're currently facing. They sort of know it, but they can't bring themselves to take the time out of their day to see the forest. And we got to work on that, because that's really one of the great arrows that you need to have in your quiver. That's really how great people operate. They're constantly seeing over hills. They're constantly looking at the negativity and seeing what's possible. Even look at this period of time. You have people during this period of time that are just innovating and innovating and innovating, seeing what's possible, quickly, adapting, trying to picture a world where you can't have this, but you can have this, changing things and then revising their lives. And when this all goes back to normal, hopefully it'll go back soon, they're better for it. It's because their minds allowed them, while they were sitting in their homes, to see over the hill. So could yours, if you'll give it the time and you'll try and you'll practice, and send me questions and feedback if you're struggling. We'll talk about it here. I think this week we'll figure out how to do a Q&A show at some point. But where I want to start to delve in with you this week is this idea of the aggregation of marginal gains. I want to talk about what that is. The aggregation of marginal gains. That's going to be the theme. A lot of what we're going to be talking about. What is that? So there's a man named Dave Brailsford. I read this in a book called Atomic Habits by a man named James Clear. So Dave Brailsford was, in 2003, was hired by the British Cycling Group to be the director of performance. Now, until that time, the British cycling team had been sort of the paradigm of mediocrity. I think in the 100 years before 2003, they won 1 gold medal, no Tour de France's. They were just mediocre. So much so that during that period of time, as the late 90s came, there were certain bicycle manufacturers that refused to sell the equipment to the British team because they didn't want anybody seeing them ride the bikes because they were just so bad. And in 2003, this new guy showed up named Dave Brailsford. Within 5 years, Dave Brailsford transformed that organization, that team, from being basically just mediocre to being one of the greatest. In 2008 and post 2008, they won 60% of the gold medals in the next Olympics. They won 5 out of the 7 Tour de France's during that decade from 2008 to the next till 2018. They were a model of excellence. And how did he do it? 100 years of mediocrity. Some guy shows up and 5 years later they're killing it. Like what did he do? I know we're all thinking, what drugs did they all take? Well, it wasn't that, believe it or not. You could be good at sports and not have to stick yourself with who knows what. He employed one of the most powerful methods in growth, which is the method that we're going to talk about this week, in honor of our mothers who taught this to us when we were very little kids. This is like Mom 101. It's called the aggregation of marginal gains. What is that? Dave Brailsford walked around to his team and he's told his team the following. He said, I do not expect you guys to win races immediately. I don't expect you guys to turn your lives upside down. I don't expect us to go from being mediocre for 100 years to becoming the best. I don't want you to do anything extreme. But I'm going to push us to one thing. And that one thing is going to be our obsession. We want to get 1% better at everything. Pick anything with bicycling. Anything that has to do with the sport. And we have to figure out how to get 1% better. And that's what he did. They went to their bikes and figured out how to change the seat adjustment in the exact way that fit everybody's body so that they were a little bit better when they were riding. They researched as a team what they could put on their bikes, what substance, whether they rub it in alcohol, it was totally legal, that was able to grip the ground 1% better to get a little bit closer to a better time. They fought over the type of clothing to wear so that it would be more wind resistant. They painted the inner walls of the trailer that they used when they went to races white. So this way, if there were germs, they were able to see them so that it reduced in 1%. Think about how small this is. A little bit. They reduced people feeling sick when everybody was hanging out together. They found better pillows. I mean, you can't believe this. This is a professional cycling team. Can you imagine sitting around the table fighting over pillows and blankets because they want to get 1% better sleep? Because they figured if they sleep better, especially on the road, they'll perform better. Discussing what to wear pre and post match so that they're warm enough, so that their zip up sweatshirts are insulated enough. And this team developed a culture of 1%, marginal gains on the margin. Nothing major. They didn't wake up one morning and everybody was now drinking watermelon juice for 5 straight days because somebody said that you can lose 20 pounds drinking watermelon juice. Marginal gains, 1%. You know what happens when you keep on doing 1%? There's an aggregation. They aggregate. 1%, another 1%, another 1%, another 1%. You keep on getting 1% better on a real quick clip. You'll be surprised just how those things add up. This is the compounding effect, which we'll hopefully talk about tomorrow. The famous story of the philosopher and the king asking for 1 bit of wheat grain on the checkerboard. We'll talk about that with God's help. But that's the idea. And that's the focus of how we go from big thinkers to navigating rocks. You see, you got to have both, but you got to know where each one goes. We have to be big thinkers. You have to visualize what we want to become. We have to have big goals, because if we don't have big goals, we're not going to get up in the morning. Not in the same way that we're supposed to get up in the morning. If we don't practice time visualizing and seeing big things for us, we allow ourselves to get stuck in the rut of just every day like the same. You ever get that? You ever feel that way? Like you're looking at your week and it's week after week after week, month after month. Even now, by the way, it's like getting into a place where it feels like the weeks are zooming by. Like a couple of months ago, it was like, oh my gosh, like what happened? What are we doing? And every day felt like a month. And now we're like, boom, zooming again. You get that sense where like you're like looking at a holiday or a birthday or a Mother's Day or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, I remember last one. When you're not proactive, when you're not thinking about bigger things, the world throws things at you, and most of the day it's just getting through the day, and the day sort of zooms by. And we let the world tell us when it's time to grow. And the world tells young people they're supposed to grow exponentially. And as you sort of get older and have more responsibilities, you're supposed to just sort of get through the day. So what big goals do is big goals move us out of that sort of treadmill of life. Day, week, the same thing just continues on with the goal of just survival, which, by the way, is a great goal. Baruch Hashem, thank God. But really, it changes that and puts you on a treadmill that goes up because you're striving towards a goal. But once you have that vision, you can't live in the vision. You don't know how to get to the vision. How do you go up to reaching your goals? How do you go up to understanding what do I got to do to reach the things that I know that I can be? Well, the answer then is you got to navigate those rocks. And how do you navigate those rocks? 1%. Or the +1 theory for those that read the book. 1%. 1% is, okay, I got a general direction. Now I know where I'm going. I know what I want to work on. I want to work on my marriage. I want to work on my health. I want to work on my courage. Here's this thing that's always getting in my way. I'm never organized. I'm so sick of having my house a mess. I'm so sick of having my finances a mess. I've always wanted to learn this thing. I've always wanted to be connected to God deeper. I always wanted to, you have that goal. We'll continue talking about how to clarify that big goal through visualization exercises, but just beginning to understand that we've got these big goals. Well, how do we get there? We get there through 1%. We get there by owning the margin, or as for the football fans, owning the line of scrimmage. Short yardage. Just keep moving the ball forward. If you're always in motion getting enough yardage, you'll always just go down the field. Singles for the baseball fans. That's how we do it. You get 1% better every single day. Look at your week this week. Let's do this together. I want you to email me if you'd like. I'm happy to respond to them. At least on the air, on here, on this thing, I'm happy to do it. Charlie at Charlie Harary. If you're listening on any other platform, WhatsApp or whatever, link Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, you can just drop a message there. I'll try to get it. I'll try to get to it during the week. Identify a 1% goal for yourself. 1%. Look at your life. What does 1% better look like? What does 1% better look like for you with regards to health, with regards to relationships, with regards to appreciation of what you have? You want to create a deeper relationship with God? Here's how to start. Be 1% more articulate. Be 1% more appreciative and articulate it to God. Take 1% less things for granted. What does 1% look like? By the way, is that not mom's advice? My mom gave this to me my whole life. You can do this. Just keep on going. Keep on trying. You got this. Keep on going back to school. Keep on trying this. Keep on trying that. That's what moms do. They don't realize they're doing that. They're teaching us the rule of the aggregation of marginal gains. Richard, you're the best. The Michael Phelps story. We'll get there. 1% rules today. That's what mom's teaching us our whole lives. But that's what we got to articulate now and work with. That should be our goal this week together, all of us. Start understanding how to look at our lives and looking for 1%, not for 10%. 10% is an exciting way to start and it ends up lasting for 2 days. 1%. Because if you can identify 1% better at something, and you can do 1% better. Usually 1% better is just a question of just effort. You don't need a whole life change to be 1% better at things. You just need a little bit more effort, a little bit more focus, a little more toil. And if we started to get good at identifying 1% and starting to work on them, we'll start to learn how to inch our way down the field. So that's our goal this week. To take our moms and the mom's advice to heart. And again, happy Mother's Day to everybody. Happy Mother's Day to my mom. Happy Mother's Day, Mommy. And to all, if you are a mom or you're a child, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And let's start working. Let's start doing what our moms told us to do. Let's start looking for the 1% in our lives. Every day. Start looking for it. Because if we can identify right now with me and you, if me and you can be serious about our growth, I'm going to do it today. I'll tell you, I'll do it today. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But if we can start to identify what I can be 1% better in, and what you can be 1% better in, and we start working for it, we're going to start feeling that real momentum, the momentum of growth, the inspiration of getting a little bit better, that excitement of taking one more step towards that goal. I will talk about this, including Michael Phelps. If you're listening to it right now, there's plenty of ways to join us live. Go to Momentum, their Facebook page for the live stream. You can go to my Facebook page, my Instagram page, or my YouTube for the on demand right after the show's over. Wishing you guys an awesome week. Looking forward to speaking to you with God's help tomorrow. Let's get a little better today and every day afterwards. I know that will really lead us to having the awesome life that each of us knows that we deep, deep, deep down should be living. All right, have an awesome day. Can't wait to speak to you tomorrow with God's help. Thanks for tuning in.